Welcome everyone to the next installment of the Sports Bros uh, podcast. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the Super Bowl. We're going to recap the Super Bowl and our thoughts and opinions on how that game went. Then we'll segue into a little bit about each other. So we're going to get started with the Super Bowl recap, and I'm going to give the floor to Efren, and he can get started with that.
Guys, so what a Super Bowl! What a Super Bowl! Um, we all watched it. We all seen two great quarterbacks go at it with each other. Jalen Hurts really proved me wrong, and um, man, he did what he had to do. He carried his team on his back. He uh, he did everything possible to win that game. So what a way to play his butt off and do what he had to do. Of course, also like I told people, Patrick Mahomes, the next great thing coming out of Kansas City, and you know he did everything he had to do to get the plays done and the adjustments, like people say, in the second half. I don't really think there was really adjustments that they made. I just think they 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 knew a little bit about what they had to do, and they could have done it in the first half, but they hid their whole offense in the second half. That Philly defense was proven or fell asleep for some reason, and that Kansas City defense just kept on going like a mortar, just kept on going. That call, let's be honest, guys, it was a holding call. It was a holding call. Yes, the ref said it even before. I know I've been hearing a lot of people say, "Well, he overthrew him like 15 yards and everything." But the ref said when he made the announcement and he was making the call, he said before the ball was thrown, there was defensive holding. The cornerback admitted it. That takes a lot of courage to say it, but it was a make or break call. Yes, it was a call that shouldn't have been made uh, at that time because people think that, but at the same time, he didn't make the call in the first half. So if you go two calls, we would have been going the opposite way. We would have been saying, "Well, Kansas City, they got they they should have it would have been a lot." But still, great great game. I loved every minute of it. It did have me scared. Um, I was kind of sad at the end because I did predict the score 38-35 Chiefs. Should have, put just a little bit on it. But, man, um, you guys were right. That defense for Kansas City played their hearts out too. And, the team that won it uh, did what they had to do to win. And that's all I have to say about that.
All right, Ethan, thank you so much, man. We're gonna jump over to Amos now and get his view on the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I just think Patrick Mahomes continues to cement his legacy. That's 5 years now as a starter, and 5 years as being in the conference championship game. That's 3 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl wins, and two MVPs now. So he just continues to get better. As you guys saw it in the season, specifically in the Super Bowl game, his ability to extend plays, to read his progressions. The wild thing is he loses his best quarterback, or excuse me, his best receiver, top 5 receiver in the league, and he just gets better. And in that Super Bowl, he ends up being in a situation where he doesn't have a top one wideout, and he doesn't have a stud running back. He has a 7th-round running back who's been really good this year, and you could argue that they're not even in their best. They're even in their best situation on offense, basically. As far as talent goes, yes, they have Patrick Mahomes. They have the tight end, of course, in Kelsey, but receiver wise, running back wise, you could argue that they could be even better. And so I just think Mahomes just showed that he's that guy, continuous, and it was just a great game. And that I would just say it was definitely the right call at the end. It was certainly a hold call. And unfortunately for the Eagles, you really just can't be too mad because that whole second half they couldn't get a stop, and they can really only blame themselves. They just could not get a stop. The Chiefs just consistently went down the field and scored on them. And so again, if you're the Eagles, you can't feel you can't feel bad. It was a close game. You played your hearts out, but again, the Chiefs just kept scoring. So it's unfortunate the call was towards the end, but it was the right call. KJ, what do you think about the game?
I thought it was a great game. I honestly, I said it when we were talking about it last week. I said that Jalen Hurts is going to do something in the last 5 minutes, but Mahomes is going to do something in the last 130, and that's what happened. They got the only bad thing that happened for Hurts this game was the fumble. That was it. But he did something in the last 5 minutes. He went down, got the score, and got the 2-point conversion to tie it up. And it was honestly just all his defense's fault. I mean, what were they, like 3 or 5 sacks away from tying the 85 Bears, and they didn't get a single sack all night. They couldn't even get to Mahomes. And it was just bad play on the defense's part. And then the only other thing I saw was Quez Walker. He dropped that pass to get him on the 6-yard line. But other than that, the Eagles played a great game offensively, and they just couldn't get it done on defense. But for Mahomes, I'm looking at the stats now. Like I said before, he was 2 touchdowns and 6 turnovers, 4 interceptions, and 2 fumbles in his last 2 Super Bowl appearances. He had 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and he only tried to do that flashy shit one time. And it almost got picked off, and then after that, he didn't do anything. Like, anything too crazy. I mean, in the second half, he went, 13 of 14, and the only missed completion was throwaway, so he didn't get sacked. But it was only for 93 yards. He was dinking and dunking like people complain about Tom Brady. But, I mean, Brady did what he had to do to win, and so did Mahomes. He put away all the flashy tricks, and he got it done. Like he said his first 2 Super Bowls, he relied too much on trying to be the show of the main guy and try to outdo everybody. This time he just he trusted his team. He trusted his, like you said, rookie running back, and just got the ball to Kelsey every time because nobody can stop Kelsey. But I mean, it was a great Super Bowl. That was a hold. I saw the other angle, and it was a hold. It sucks that it robbed Hurts of another drive downfield, but I mean, you got to call that call. It doesn't matter what moment it is, the first quarter or the fourth quarter, the Super Bowl or preseason. A call is a call. That's what it is. What do you think, Alan?
I have to disagree with that, man. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm not gonna talk about the call until after I get through my thoughts about the game. I thought that it was a great game, as everybody's pointed out. It was probably one of the best Super Bowl games that we've had in, I don't know, I'm gonna say since Seattle and Denver, maybe, as far as overall. The whole game just being, having you, right there in front of the screen, watching everything that was going on. It was fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think that personally, I got to give Andy Reid a great deal of credit. He had his team ready. You guys each brought up great points about, Mahomes and Hurts. But I think that the difference was the coaching. Sirianni he didn't know how to make the adjustments in the second half to slow that offense down for the Chiefs. And Andy Reid, he did everything he had to get his defense playing on the same level as his offense was playing, because they rocked it the whole game, man. I mean, even though they were down by 10 points at the end of the half, they still, they were still right there. I mean, it was only, 1 or 2 plays here that, that it could have been a 10-point difference the other way, for Kansas City. again, Mahomes, we've all said it. He's pretty much solidified his legacy. There's really nothing you can say bad about the kid. I was a little skeptical with that run, that 24-yard run in the fourth quarter, because he didn't look like he was injured at all whatsoever. So I was thinking to myself that maybe he was bringing he was trying to bring a little drama to the game there. But the kid, he played within himself. He did everything that he had to do to win that game. And I mean, when's the last time we saw somebody in a Super Bowl appearance score every time they had the ball in the second half? I mean, that was just incredible. That was incredible, in my opinion. Jalen Hurts did some things. It's really sad that the kid has had so many setbacks, with being benched in the national championship, transferring to another school, losing in the playoffs, finishing third. I think he finished third or second in the Heisman Trophy race, and now to be so consistent and play so well all year long. And even throughout this game, I mean, there was no doubt that if they had won the game, he would have been MVP. But to do everything that he did and then still come out on the losing end was just, it broke my heart a little bit, I have to say, because he really deserved a win there, no doubt about it. Now, as far as the call at the end of the game, I'm a little disappointed. I mean, just as a fan and as an enthusiast, I won't say that I was upset that they made the call, but I think that in a situation like that, you got to let the game play out. And I told Ethan this earlier in the week. I didn't think that Philadelphia would have been able to march down the field in that time, even if they had a minute and a half or a minute 40 or whatever. But I don't think that Kansas City would have let them score. It would have still been either a 38-35 game, or they would have scored a touchdown, and then it would have been 42-35. So either way, I think Kansas City would have pulled it out. But I hate to see, and not that the refs were trying to prove that they were gods of the game or whatever, but I just think that, to me, it was just a bad it should have been a no call, is what I'm saying. It should have been a no call, and I'll just leave it at that. Okay.
I saw you wanted to say something, Amos?
Oh no, so I mean, I hear you, Alan. I just think it's one of those, all you can do is agree or disagree. I think a call is call. I get it. Especially in a situation like that, Super Bowl, you really don't want to see a big play like that be affected by the refs, whether we agree or disagree about the call. The only thing I would just add is, did you say it was one of the most exciting games since the Seahawks Broncos? This is what I thought you had said earlier.
Yeah.
Okay. And if that's the case, I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think of us four in here, I certainly agree for sure. But as far as it being a good game, I'm sure Efren and KJ were probably thinking a few different things. And that's just me being biased, of course, as a Seahawks fan.
Right.
Post game, I thought you might be getting the Broncos and Patriots game actually mixed up. That's what I had thought at first, because man, that obviously for me it was the worst game in the world. On the flip side,
Patriots.
Exactly.
You mean Seahawks Patriots? Yeah.
So
You know what? And that's exactly what I was saying. It was the Seahawks Patriots game, because that one was back and forth. Did I say Denver?
It's a Denver. Then that's why I was.
Okay. So no, because that was a blowout, wasn't it?
It was a blowout, exactly. So I was saying,
Yeah.
I would agree with saying it was an exciting game, because I'm biased in that sense. But
Right.
yeah,
Right.
definitely a very exciting game. The Patriots Seahawks game was just a great game, though. It really was, just from a fan perspective.
What do you think, Evan?
Yeah.
So I agree with Alan about the call too. It's bad for the sportsman. It's like both teams, and that happens. But then also I go by the fan. If any of our teams were in that situation, in both sides, of course we don't want that call to happen. But if we're if we're the team going to score or about to win the Super Bowl and that happens and that call doesn't get called, let's be honest, as fans that we are, we're going to be very upset about that holding call. And I talked to KJ right before we came on, and I asked him, I go, he missed the call. I don't know if it was that same ref, but
I think it was like the second quarter.
yeah, he missed the same exact call when they clearly tackled him. And then they called pass interference or defensive holding or anything. So I just thought he couldn't make that mistake twice. And then also the back thing, I just want one thing I did want to talk about that game is the offensive tackles, the whole scheme that Andy Reid did. The whole offensive line for the City played their butts off. That defense couldn't get to Mahomes. And when they were almost there, he found a way to move around and get the ball to who he had to. But also, what I think, right before that fumble happened in the second quarter, the false start happened. That they were about to do their rugby play that they were doing to get a first down. They called them for offsides. They came back, and right next, they were about to be. I ain't gonna lie. I think they go up 21-7 if you don't fumble that ball. I'm not too sure they do, but it looked like it, and that kind of changed the momentum of the game for Jalen. You know, he still played his butt off, but if it wasn't for that penalty, and it was a penalty offsides, a false start penalty on the Eagles, that changed that momentum too. So,
That's
you know,
a
great
14
Super
point
Bowl,
swing.
like I said, yeah, great Super Bowl. People kept asking me if I was worried because I did have quite a bit of coin on the game. Um, but people kept asking me, were you worried at all? Were you worried at all? I go, honestly, when I lost my word when they were down 10 points, I was not worried. The only reason is they stopped Patrick Mahomes. He ran off. I don't know if he was playing that he was hurt or that he was hurt, but the Eagles had a chance again to go up 14 points, and they settled for a field goal. Just like Alan said, Sirianni didn't, when he was going for it on fourth downs, he was doing everything he had to do. He took the points. A 10-point lead against that type of offense is never secure. And came out the second half, and everything was going their way. Everybody was getting open. Players were making plays. And to be honest, I don't blame Sirianni I don't blame Sirianni for the whole loss of the Eagles. You got to blame that defensive coordinator. He did not adjust. Well, not adjust, but he let his defense play what they were doing the whole year, and their defense got too overconfident. And that's the way I looked at it. If you could put up points on that defense, that offense, I do not believe would be able to keep up. But they kept up, but I don't think they were going to be able to win that game. But that was all I had to say. It was great what we watched, and you know, I'm glad I got to watch this game. You know, it was a great game, and Alan was right. It was one for the ages. One for the ages.
Yeah, like you said about them not being able to get to Mahomes. I mean, Hurts had 15 carries for 70 yards, but Mahomes had like 6 carries for 44 yards. They couldn't get to, not only could they not get to him, but he was able to get past them, especially on that 26-yard run that Allen was talking about. He just blew by them, and he did not look hurt at all. He was just chugging along.
Think about that too, KJ. Was there were a couple of holes he ran to the right and then came back to the left, but he could have actually there was a couple of seams there that he could have taken and gotten the same amount of yardage. So there was nobody that was around him to even put a hand on him until he was down the field. It was just crazy. And and again, that's why I say, Andy Reid, he had his coaching staff ready, he had his team ready, and they did everything correctly. Even though they were down in the first half, the defense played well above what they had done all year. The offensive line was incredible, because I didn't think that they were going to be able to stop Philadelphia's defense myself. And I said that last week when we were on, that I thought that the defense was going to be able to stop Kansas City, and the offense was going to run all over the field, and it just didn't work out that way. It seemed like it was going to. I know that I was feeling pretty good about my prediction in the first half, of it being a 2-score victory for Philadelphia, but he went into that locker room. He said what he had to say, his guys, and they came out and they did everything that they had to do to win that game.